Now we're going to look at reinforcement schedules. This is also a very frequently asked question in the AP Psychology exam in May. A continuous reinforcement schedule is the reinforcement after every single instance of desired behavior. This is the best for shaping. However, extinction occurs the quickest for this. Therefore, you usually begin with a continuous reinforcement schedule and then move to an intermittent reinforcement schedule, which are described below. The variable is a randomly changing thing, and the prefix fixed means constant and same. Ratio means reinforcement given after a number of responses. Interval means reinforcement given after some time has passed. Just as the positive, negative, reinforcer, punishment, these four vocabs, variable, fixed, ratio, interval, they will be combined again to make these wonderful AP Psychology vocabularies, which are very, very frequently asked questions. I would say 4 to 5 questions per every AP Psychology exam that I've ever seen. Now, what fixed ratio means is about reinforcing after a specific number of responses. So for example, 1 free cup of coffee after buying 10 cups. So there is the specific number that you need to buy the coffee, right? It's a fixed ratio. Every 10 cups you buy, there will be 1 free coffee. And these types of reinforcers are called fixed ratio. Now, a variable ratio. A variable ratio is about reinforcing after a random number of responses. So let's say a lottery is going to never let you know how many times you have to buy a lottery to win, right? It's really up to chance, really up to random chance. You don't know the correct ratio that you need to buy a lottery. There's no fixed ratio in this case. That's why it's called a variable ratio, because a variable continuously changes. And a fixed interval is when reinforcing occurs after a specific time period has passed. Imagine you get 1 cup of ice cream if you help an old lady, but you can only get the ice cream once per day, a specific time period. So this once per day term is explaining how there's a fixed interval. You will only get the ice cream once a day, no matter how many times you help an old lady in a day. And a variable interval occurs when there is a reinforcement after a random amount of time period has passed. This is called the variable interval. Imagine now you'll get 1 cup of ice cream if you help an old lady, but you might be able to get it once a day, twice a day, once a week, or once a month. You don't know how often you'll be getting it. So, the big question here, which of these are the most effective in terms of increasing the response rate, stimulating these behaviors? It is the variable ratio is the biggest in chance, followed by fixed ratio, and variable interval, followed by fixed interval. Basically, variable has a higher chance than fixed, and ratio has a higher chance than interval. You need to memorize these to explain it well on the FRQ and the MCQs in these tests. So for another examples, let's see for some another examples, additional examples. So for fixed ratio, there may be something like reinforcement after every nth time of a behavior, such as buy 10 coffees, get 1 free, or pay per product until produced. An example for a variable ratio is when after an unpredictable number, reinforcement after a random number of behaviors will be given as when playing slot machines in a casino or fly casting. And fixed interval is when reinforcement for behavior is given after a fixed time, such as Tuesday discount prices. A variable interval occurs unpredictably. Reinforcement for behavior in this case is given after a random amount of time, as in checking for a Facebook response. Now there's this concept called intermittent reinforcement schedules. So B.F. Skinner's laboratory pigeons produce these response patterns to each of 4 reinforcement schedules. Reinforcers are indicated by diagonal marks on the graph right. For people, as for pigeons, reinforcement linked to number of responses, a ratio schedule, produces a higher response rate than reinforcement linked to amount of time elapsed, an interval schedule. But the predictability of the reward also matters. An unpredictable variable schedule produces more consistent responding than does a predictable, a fixed schedule. Now we're going to look at the effectiveness of punishment. A punishment behavior is suppressed, not forgotten. So without punishment, the behavior will surface again. And punishment teaches discrimination among situations. This means the child may learn to just not do bad things around you, the punisher, instead of learning not to do bad things at all. So there's this some underlying potential bad effects of this, bad consequences for this type of punishment, right? And punishment can also teach fear. Punishment can also teach fear, which can lead to generalization, which means that the child can begin to fear the person or the environment. That leads to punishment. So they may become scared of parents or not want to go to school. So you don't want this to happen, right? That's why punishment is not always the best answer. And physical punishment, which is totally unacceptable, may increase aggression. Children may see that violence is an effective way to deal with problems because you are treating the child with violence, right? Therefore, whenever you grow up to be parents, please don't apply physical punishment to your children. That is a very, very bad thing that you don't want it to happen. And also it may bring bad effects for the child as well. And some criticism about operant conditioning and B.F. Skinner is, critics claimed Skinner's ideas dehumanize people by suggesting that their behavior is shaped by environment and stimuli instead of cognitive functions, which is thinking. So B.F. Skinner was criticized a lot at this time when he presented this idea. But Skinner wanted to apply these ideas for a better society. And that, my AP Psychology students, is the end of this video. In the next video, Liam's AP Psychology course will come back with Unit 4, Module 28, which is about applicants of operant conditioning. See you next time, AP Psychology students. Goodbye. Have a nice day.